guys. Thank you so much for tuning into my channel. My name is Christabel, the original Power Ranger princess. But on this channel, I'm Princess Power Ranger. So, you guys, the last, I think, 3 videos that I uploaded were actually some older content that I'm putting back on this channel. Um, I'm obviously not going to put everything back onto this channel, but just, I don't know, some videos that I really wanted to show you guys again. So that's what that was about. I'm not sure if anyone clocked that, but I wanted to do a quick story time. So this actually just happened today. I moved back to Port Elizabeth. Now, PE is originally where I went to university. Um, I made so many happy, beautiful memories in the city and some awful ones. But I'm so happy to be back. I'm so happy to be back in the Eastern Cape. Yeah. So I'm excited for this new part of my journey. But with every new step you take, you notice old patterns. Now, I'm not talking about patterns within myself, but just patterns of behavior in terms of how men approach you or deal with you or talk to you as a transgender woman. Now, I began my transition realistically back in the year 2011. Yeah. So it's been about 14 years. But within that 14 years, I mean, I had a year and a half of therapy before I even lived as Christabel. And then I lived through a couple of years where I was brick faced and dealt with so many different things that I'm not going to get into in this video. And then when I had my bilateral orchiectomy, which is a surgery where they cut off your testicles and thereby remove all the testosterone, or at least like 97%, my body started changing. I started developing. Um, like I suddenly got married Kate and Ashley and it was a full house. You know what I mean? Like everything changed and I got to a point where I started passing, or as I like to refer it to as reaching the female threshold. And for me, what reaching the female threshold means is essentially when you walk through life or you're out in town in society, people don't always assume that you are transgender. And once you reach the female threshold, unfortunately, in the heteronormative society that we live in the cis-normative society that we live in, as a trans woman, somehow people start to recognize your transition or give you more respect once they feel like you are convincing. Now, when I reached the female threshold, that's when I started getting like a lot of attention from, like guys, and I started dating and hooking up. And there was always one thing that kept happening, and it happened today. And it would basically be like I would meet someone, we would hang out, and during the conversation, they would bring up something about transgender people. Case in point, many years ago, I went on a date with a German dude, and he was about in his 40s, silver fox zaddy. And we went on like 3 dates. We even went to yoga together. And I remember on our last date, we had gone to the beach and then we went to this like hotel and we were like making out. He started telling me about um, this black girl from Congo that was living in Berlin and they had made out. Come to find out, she was actually transgender. And then he looked at me like this and he's like, can you even imagine what that would feel like? I'm not sure if I'm squinting my eyes enough, but he did that thing with his eyes, and I remember I was just like, I just kept eating, and I was like, no, I can't. That's crazy. Because I felt at that point, and look, as I've gotten older, I've realized that you don't string guys along without telling them that you're trans. But I realize now that he actually knew that I was trans in that moment. He had clocked that T, but he needed me to confirm what he had already thought. And I was just too chicken shit to do it. Um, Later on, we ended up meeting up again and going on another date. But that's another story. I digress. The second time it happened, I was with this like Ukrainian boy. I think I've talked about him in my previous video. And he also brought up a trans thing and he was like, can you imagine what that would be like? And I was just kind of like, what are we doing? What are we doing? Because even in that moment, I was like, listen, I'm not about to be unalived by this Ukrainian boy that I just met doing a visa run in Laos that I'm probably never going to meet again. Best I would do is send them a text message and then tell them, but not like in living color in person. Girl, I'm not about to be like, no. Now, it had happened twice already, and today I, I went down to the beach and I was hanging out, and I decided before I go home, I'm gonna get some stuff. Now, as I'm leaving the supermarket, this guy calls me from behind, and I turn around, and immediately I recognize him because I had met him like 2 years ago. 2 years ago. And I'll be honest, like when we met, it was kind of like in this chaotic situation where I was stranded. I'd gotten off my bus, my phone died, I lose my phone, and he helped me get to my friend's place. So it was one of those things like, oh my goodness, yeah, I remember you. Like, how could I forget? Anyways, he's all happy to see me and we're talking and whatever. I swear, all South Africans are running on empty. Now, during our conversation, he basically lets me know that he needs to get back to the other side of the city and needed like $3, um, to get to the other side. Now, I don't carry cash on me. Um, in South Africa, they do. People carry cash on them. I don't. So I was like, hey, you know what? Let's just like, I'll just withdraw like $10 and I'll give you the three, and then you can like, at least have a way back home. You know what I mean? I didn't want to leave the guy stranded, and he was all like thankful and whatever. So we're talking, and he's asking, like where I've been. And I'm like, oh, I eventually moved to Thailand. And it was a whole spiel. And I ask about him, and he's all like, oh, he's kind of dating this girl. Bitch gag. As we're talking, he's like, but he thinks that she's transgender. What do you think about that? I just look at him and I'm like, okay, so what if she is? What if she isn't? And he's all like, no, it's just he's new to all of this. He doesn't know what to expect. And I'm like, well, I mean, I'm trans. Like, trans people are pretty much part of society now. And he's like, oh, no way. This is a black dude, by the way. So, and the only reason I mentioned that is somebody hit me up in the comments and was like, when I was talking about some other dude, and was like, oh, I bet he was white, wasn't he? Girl. But, anyways, I digress. So, I basically let him know that I'm trans, and we start talking about the whole thing. Girl, I swear, a lot of these guys have this idea that when they speak to somebody who's trans, the best way to sort of like be in that sort of interaction if you're flirting with them is to act like you know nothing and let the girl kind of like be the predator that chases you. I have had men who have told me, oh no, they're still virgins, and the guy will be like 50. And I'm like, my guy, my guy, my guy, my guy, my guy, my guy. Literally, I like ticked up with guys who literally are like, oh no, like, I've only been with one other person. And once you start getting in there, you're like, oh, no, 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 no. You've had trains. You've had trains. You've had ships. You've had airplanes run up in there. Don't tell me about. So, like, I'm looking at this guy and he's like doing this whole spiel about acting super not knowledgeable about trans people. And I was like, okay, dude, whatever. Give him his $3 and I keep on stepping. Because I think the reason I didn't entertain that, like, the reason I didn't respond in the way where I was like all educating him, the reason I didn't respond in that like super like nurturing or kind of like, oh, let me teach you about trans people, this is what we are, is because my guy, you can literally go on Chat GPT. If, and I know this is what he wanted to ask, if he simply wanted to ask if I was trans, bless, do it. I will answer. I'll send you a link to my YouTube. Please watch that shit. But don't act as though we're not these grown ass adults. I cannot stand when you're dealing with somebody, especially as somebody who's trans and who prefers to be the top in the relationship. I hate how often the expectation is that you are the one who's supposed to chase this guy. I'm like, my guy, be so for real. Be so, so for real. You know, I've thought about it, and I think the reason, like so many guys act so clueless when they talk to trans women is, it is true that they do want that princess treatment. They do want to be the one pursued. They do want all of, and I'm just kind of like, I'm not the one who's going to do that. It will be somebody else, not me. And if you want to ask me if I'm trans, simply ask. Simply ask. It's so funny because I was living like in a backpackers, right? And remember, I made a video, right, talking about the birthday schmex flop where this guy like had tried to hook up with me. Cool, whatever. By the time I was leaving that hostel, there were like there were like three of them. Three of them. Two of them are so cute though. There were like three of them all trying to talk to me, all trying to hook up with me, all trying to be like, I don't know, all up in me. And just the way all three of them approached me, and a fourth one, just the way all three and all four of them approached me, it was always just weird. The fourth guy was this random dude who was staying at the Backpackers. He was also South African. And initially, he was really cool. When I was sitting outside smoking, he'd come up and he'd try to sit next to me and we'd like talk and whatever. It was only like when I was about to move out that he asked to speak to me privately. It was so random, and I'm like, my guy, no one's listening to our conversation. People have lives. Say your piece. Anyways, so he's all like, can I just send you a WhatsApp? And I'm like, okay, send the WhatsApp. And he asked, like, because I mentioned that I used to play the recorder, I called it a flute. He sent me a text message and he was all like, can I blow your flute? And I'm like, really? So we start talking and all of that. And I'm all like, my guy, what exactly is this? What are you looking for? Why are you texting all of these things to me? Mind you, he's sitting opposite me. Instead of just saying his piece, he's like, no, I don't want people to find out. And you know how people talk this, that, and the other. And he just feels more comfortable over text, despite the fact we're sitting opposite each other. And I'm like, thank you. I'm flattered. I'm so, so flattered that you would want to blow on my flute. However, unخلقك unخلقك akani unخلقك akani. Unfortunately, I simply cannot iqalo and ikwazi anzokwazi iqalo but excuse man. I just can't do none of that. I just don't move that fast, and it's so sad that all trans women, because we're part of the LGBTQ plus community, and when you think about it, the LGBTQ plus community is about sexual orientation and identity, whereas the T is about gender congruence. It is about living in congruence, where the person that I am on the inside, how I see myself, is reflected in my outer appearance. Now, because trans women have been and continue to be so schmexualized, even by myself as I keep hitting, but because we're seen that way, like, guys tend to not act normal when they're hitting on us, especially in real time. They always do weird, random shite. They always kind of like clock you, but don't want to say that they're clocking you, so they want you to tell. Like, they'll ask in a weird, kind of roundabout way, or when they're not asking in a weird, roundabout way, they go into just making fun of you. Have you ever had that? Because I have. I've had so many situations where they'll start off aggressively making fun of me, and then they're hitting on me, and I'm like, or they're pushing me into a wall trying to make out. I just hope and pray that we get to a day where us as trans women can just exist in society without everyone just being so weird about us. fine if you clocked me. Brilliant, but don't be weird about it. I would rather have someone approach me in a way where they were genuine and kind and made it clear that they were hitting it on me and just were just confident. The way like people used to do it on the TV, girls. Anyways, I love you guys. I hope you are having a wonderful, wonderful Friday. And I will check you on the next one. Auf Wiedersehen. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, all of that.